And we're back. Okay, so chapter 3. Uh hmm that that Council of Evil scene really threw me off there for a second. But I don't know what to make of that. That was weird. Let me lock the chair. There we go. Okay, now I can lean back and not fall backwards. Well, well. Let's start over from the beginning. Yang got her arm. So cool. So excited about that. She has her arm. Now clearly clearly there's something. There's something is stopping her. Now, at this point, I don't know if it's fear of trying something to make up for something that you lost and fear of being disappointed by it, or if it's self loathing where you just when you hold yourself to such a low standard that you're like, I mean, I don't deserve it. What's the point? I don't need it. Um, I don't know. I still not. I'm still not sure what's going on inside her mind at this point. I know that she's kind of like bored, somewhat numb. If I were to take a guess, I would say somewhat numb because I don't know. I'm also trying to remember how volume 3 ended, in which Ruby is talking to Yang and Yang is kind of like dismissive about it and ignoring her at first. And then the very, very sad scene where she says, I love you. She closes the door and leaves. Um so clearly there's a lot of there's a lot of internal struggle with Yang that has to probably work with self-loathing, some form of depression, lack of interest, lack of care, but at the same time she's not completely abandoned. She's not no, she's not a mess. She's not a mess because she's still trying to do things around the house, sweeping, I guess try to do the dishes and whatnot. So she's not into this in this in she's not in a she's not she's not doing good, but she's not doing horrible. She's like in this in between of lack of interest, lack of anything, numb. I guess the best way to describe it would be numb and every now and then I see her glance at her missing limb. So it makes me feel as if there's also this sense of longing slash regret that it happened. So there's these things still lingering that are there. Clearly. She saw Adam in the news and she grew uneasy about it. And then She heard a window, not a window, a glass break. Might have reminded her of a window, and that triggered her. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't mention this until now, but it's possible that she's suffering from some sort of PTSD or of sorts, post-traumatic experience, and now she has the flashbacks with sound triggers, and at the same time she's numb. I can totally understand this. It's it's really weird because you feel there are moments in the day where you feel that you're back there again, and and you lose sight and track of your surrounding, and it's really weird. I don't know how to best explain it, but I mean there was an incident in which I heard a particular sound that was extremely similar to one that we had in our garrison, in the barracks in particular. And it's usually the sound of a door closing, and that door is only used by our not our junior grade, lieutenant. He comes in usually from that side of the door, and we've grown used to this sound, and as soon as the door closes, it's like an immediate reaction where somebody's already calling out attention on deck, and everybody just stands at attention no matter what you're doing. It happened to me probably, gosh, it was fairly recent. I would have to say like maybe 3, 4 years ago. I was just focused on something, and I heard that sound of that door closing, and I immediately stood up to attention, and it took me like 5 or 6 seconds to realize what was happening. And then I kind of like, wow, that was weird. But it's things like this. It's like muscle memory. And I'm guessing in the scenario of in the scenario of fight or flight, when it comes down to either flee or fight for your life, flee for your life or fight for your life, since it's not something we're normally accustomed to experiencing during these incidents, it forces us into a way of hard recording to what's happening. And those intense moments with high adrenaline, with high stress, kind of like get engraved. And when something similar, or there's a pattern, or sounds, or anything, because in those moments, those heightened moments, that we are in this panic of fight or flight, all our senses are operating at 500%. We are hearing things, we are seeing things, we are feeling things that on a normal daily basis we don't really experience. But since our heart is pumping so fast, our adrenaline is through the roof, and we're in that moment where we know that our life is in danger, everything around us feels as if it's slowing down, but in reality, it's just you processing information really fast. And because of this high level of processing, high level of awareness, I guess you can call it, it really engraves that moment that you're experiencing. And that moment will stay with you for, up until now with me, it's been forever. in which it's just, it'll always be there. Eventually, with time, you'll get used to it and it won't bring you back so hard, but you'll always remember every single detail of everything. And it's intense. It really is. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm telling you the door incident because it's one of the most, gentle incidents of things that I've lived through. But it was just a weird experience in which I'm inside a building carrying out my labors, and I hear that door closing, and immediately it's like, you know, flashback, barracks, the Lieutenant JG is coming in, stand at attention, and 5 or 6 seconds it took me to like realize like, what am I doing? And then I feel so odd about it. Please excuse me for one moment. My apologies. So yeah, I it definitely feels that Yang might be experiencing some form of post-trauma stress. Um, I can understand it. I see it. It's mostly sounds. Honestly, it's mostly sounds that really snap you back. But with that being said, um, she is in the process of regaining control because she realized that she panicked for no reason and she gets upset about it and slams the table. But but yeah, so that's probably the internal struggle that we saw in the opening of the volume. But um my mind is going places. I'm sorry. After that, we have, I can't think straight anymore. Dang it. I opened up a book and now I can't close it. Wow. All right, so let me start talking to get my mind off of this. Here we go. The arm came in the mail. Looks shiny. It looks brand new. I didn't recognize the symbol. That was Atlas. For some reason, I think I should have known that, but for some reason, I didn't. It was something else. I thought it was Mistral, but I was wrong. Apparently, the little torch is Atlas, so I gotta remember that from now on, that the little torch is Atlas. Um, Yang's father saw her in the kitchen and he seemed concerned. I don't know if he's going to address the situation with her later on because he, I believe, is now becoming aware that there's something troubling his daughter. Um, No. So also after that, we have we have Blake on the boat, which was made out of wood, which I found odd or strange, if you will. Considering that it had mechanical components, for example, engines, cannons, computers, display navigation maps, you name it, but it was made out of wood, and I found that somewhat odd. Maybe that captain prefers the antique feeling of a wooden boat, but normally, at least for us in our universe, wooden boats don't really have mechanical components because it'll rip the wood. If you try to install something that generates torque with time, eventually it'll rip through the wood. And yeah, considering the cannon in the front too was a large cannon, the heavy cannon. Yeah, the recoil of that cannon would probably damage the wooden deck. So it was odd for me in a way, a bit jarring as far as can it work or can it not work. But but my mind is not here with me right now, guys. I'm so terribly sorry. It's totally elsewhere right now. So so I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna take a break. I don't normally do this, but I guess this is the first time for everything. I'm gonna take a break and and I'll be back in a few. I'm not gonna leave the camera recording because that just takes up space. So I'm gonna stop the video here and I'll come back in a little bit. So I'll see you in a bit, I guess. And we're back. Apologies for that. So we were talking about the boat and how it was a bit odd in a way that the boat is made out of wood and it has metal components and electronics as well. So it feels odd because it's not something that we're used to seeing. I mean, yeah, you can have a sailboat with some electronics and stuff, but when you start putting armaments and other types of heavy equipment on the boat, it starts. It seems odd because it's not something that we're used to seeing a lot of the time. So we have that. Um, Blake gets approached by the captain, and the captain, he's, old sea dog looking for stories in a way to hear about his passengers, about people that travel with him. And it gives us a view of Blake's current state of mind, and she's also fairly jumpy as well. The battle for Beacon was heavy. It was heavy for all our characters, because you know each one went through their own experience, and it affected them in their own way. Um, Mysterious caped figure following Blake around eventually turns out to be Sun, which I had the idea based on the opening, and then when the person turned away, we saw some golden hair from the hood. So that kind of like in a way sealed the deal for me at least. And then we have the battle with the what seems to be the Kraken, a sea Kraken in a way, or a sea serpent. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, let let me let me walk through this carefully because I want to make sure I cover everything. The the sea creature opens up a huge window of probability of things that live in the water that I don't think we have fully explored to this point. It's a huge creature that can shoot lightning attacks, sun lightning attacks, light lightning attacks, golden lightning attacks from its mouth, and later on, it shows us that it can fly. Similar to, like, I don't know, I guess like a worm? A werven? I don't know how to pronounce that word, but it's a flying snake. Right. So so I'm replaying the scene in my head really quick, and I just want to make sure I get everything and all the implications that this brings. Because in the comments, for some previous videos, it was mentioned that in the World of Remnant video where Crow is talking about Veil, he mentions that shallow waters prevent larger Grimm from reaching the shorelines. Of course, not that I haven't heard a couple of fish stories or fish tales myself. So clearly there are larger creatures in the water that we have yet to see. I mean, if there's such a thing as a dragon, I mean, I think his name is what? Kevin? Kevin the dragon. If Kevin is around, and it's a dragon, who's to say there is other things out there, you know? Things that I don't think we've encountered yet. So, clearly, the world is a dangerous place. Now, I go back to the boat here, to the ship really quick, because if you have airships that fly around, and these are made out of metal, again, the wooden ship just seems like not a good idea. Unless the wooden ship is like a finish, you know, a wooden finish. So you can have that what's the word I'm looking for here? That nostalgic feel of ships back in the olden days. Unless that's the case, it just seems like a really bad idea to use wood, considering the technology that we have as a large vessel. It's just something that sits weird with me for now. But again, it's not our world, it's a different world. So they probably have evolved in a different direction than we have. Granted, similarities and parallel are close, but in the end, it's a different universe than ours. Um, so with that being said, the sea creature battle was dynamic, high paced, and I'm not going to be too critical about it because knowing what the creators, I guess, the producers of the show, I'm stepping out of the universe for a second to be a bit more objective, considering the events that have taken place at Rooster Teeth, because I believe that right before Volume 4 was started, or I think near the end of Volume 3, was when the creator of the series, Monty Ohm, when he passed away. And from what I have understood, based on the information that I've received, he was basically the main orchestrator when it comes to everything that was RWBY related, you know. From what I understood, he has his task was to completely oversee and supervise fully the production of the show. Now, with him no longer being around, people can only do so much and try to keep the same level of the word is not quality, but try to keep the same level of not similarity neither, the same level of technique is also not the correct word. Man, me and my word fumbling. Try to keep the same level of similarity to how things were. Can only go so far. Now, there are a lot of things that I'm not going to be critical about it, but I'm just going to point them out and kind of like run with it, so to say. The distance between the boat or the ship and land was huge. And if the boat's here and the sea creature is like this, I can see that distance possible for somebody in this universe to jump. However, the distance from the boat to land was about this much. And, jump, 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 all the way back to the boat. Interesting. I get that Sun has his light clones to push him and propel him more, but Blake doesn't really have that. And from what we've seen in the past, it seems as if they depend a lot on either gravity glyphs or propulsion, as we saw in the episode where Team RWBY hasn't been formed yet, and they are collecting the chess pieces and they're fighting against that very large Nevermore. So they depend on centrifugal force for Yang spinning her around, and RWBY with Wise's glyphs, as well as the ribbon from Blake's weapon, and I'm guessing part of the details for, I don't want to say reality, but to bring it close to realism as possible, may have gotten lost with Monty out of the picture to oversee production. Now, I'm not being critical about this. I'm just pointing it out because I notice it and I see it, and trying to be fair and objective. I see it. It's different, but I can tolerate it. It's not that big of a deal breaker, so to say. Things are a bit different now, and they're still not, or at least they haven't been super fantastic just yet. Yeah, I mean, you could argue that Blake uses her own shadow clone to propel herself by grabbing her and throwing her, but I can counter that by saying that if she's already in motion and she replicates herself, they're both sharing the same speed. Therefore, in an attempt to create propulsion from that point in movement, it'll just kind of like, eh, if you know what I mean. You'll slow down one and maybe speed up the other one, but there's no counter force to support that pushing force to propel somebody further. I don't know if I'm explaining myself right here, but there's no friction to support the force that you're pushing while you're in the air. Because you're suspended, you don't have anything except for wind friction, which is negligible when you think about it. So it's not how things used to be, but hey, you know what? It's okay. It's all right. Um, Maybe they'll start realizing these things later on down the line and things will get better again. That's okay. Stepping out of the first person universe to see what's happening outdoors, these are things that we can notice. And we can be reasonable about it. So, yeah, I got really off topic there. I apologize for that. But it's things that I noticed. Um, Clip the wings, put it in the water, restrain it. Um, yeah, it's just it sits weird. It's not bad. It just sits weird. Okay, so Sun is on the Kraken's head, holding his whiskers, giving the impression that when he pulls, the entire head moves up with him. It could, in a way, is if somebody were to pull my mustache hair here, I would try to like move up with it, but to avoid pain. But it gave the impression that when he was pulling it, it was like as if his force was moving the dragon, the kraken head up, as if he was in a different area, reaching in and pulling up an object. I don't know. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's just odd. It's odd. And I guess we just have to get used to the new changes and the differences that are going to be coming down the line. So I don't know why I keep talking about this, but it's just I feel as if it's there, and I gotta bring it up. But it's odd. I'll admit it. It's odd. It's not bad. It's different, and therefore it's odd. It's not what I've grown used to so far, but it's okay. There was some big changes where these come from, so therefore it's going to be felt downstream. Um, so so let's try to move past this now. I laughed. I'm remembering what I was doing. I laughed at the scene when the captain says, "Prepare the heavy cannon," and the female the female shipmate, her face was like, yes, my favorite part of this boat, the heavy cannon. So I ship that. I ship the female shipmate with the heavy cannon. That's her husbando, the heavy cannon. um, so that's why I laughed in that particular scene. I don't think I've mentioned it why I started laughing at that point, but that's the reason why. Um, and then let's move on the ship and let's go to the conversation. Based on what we know about Blake, based on the events that took place after the Battle of Beacon, based on, I guess, now the conversation that she had with Sun, I believe that the reason why Blake indeed ran away was because okay, I'm gonna revisit a point that I mentioned before, that she having cat in her makes her be skittish and not a coward, but easily capable of running away. And I believe she talked about this before. And I don't think that's the case with her now. I believe that I think she feels bad. I think she feels bad at the things that happened because it's possible that she still has some sort of lingering feelings towards Adam, but they're like super buried, hidden, dark, deep down away, and I feel that I don't want to say guilty. I don't want to say guilty because it's not directly something that resulted from her action. I want to say more along the lines of maybe responsible. Maybe she feels that it's her fault that Yang lost an arm, that people got hurt, because she used to belong to the White Fang. And that automatically makes you feel that you should have some level of control or power in the organization, especially if you know the current leader that took over and started doing these hostile attacks. Especially if you know this person on a personal level, you feel, or you would feel, as if you have the power to intervene and to be able to change the outcome of something that they're doing. Sun was under the impression that she was going to go after the White Fang, and she said, "You are so wrong. You're so wrong." Perhaps it's because she realizes that she doesn't have this control over the White Fang, and that makes her feel, in a way, powerless or maybe incapable of doing what she thought she could do, and therefore it makes her feel less. So so she's going home. Where are you going? Home. She's going home to get away from it all, to not see the consequences of the event that took place, to not deal with the situation. I wouldn't call it her being a coward and running away from it. I would call it as her being unable to deal with the situation right now. So she's gonna go back and, in a way, regroup. This is the feeling that I'm getting from Blake. She's going back to her home to regroup and recompose herself because she feels responsible, in a way, for the events that happened. Right? Right. That's what I believe. And I find it funny that Sun is like, "Well, I'm coming with you because, I'm not leaving you alone. And besides, I'm already here." So that's actually pretty funny. He also mentioned that the rest of his team, I only remember Neptune. I don't know who the other two were, but everybody else went ahead to Mistral, right? Was it Mistral? Or was it Haven? Mistral? Haven. Anyway, it's like Mistral is the place to go because it seems like everybody is going to Mistral. RWBY is going to Mistral. Um, the other guys are going to Mistral. Neptune, not Neptune. Neptune's, yeah, Neptune and his team are going to Mistral, and I think somebody else in the Council of Evil is going to Mistral or to Haven. It's the same place. It's the Academy in the continent, in the kingdom, sorry. So everybody seems to be going to Mistral. So Mistral is the next target. Mistral. Excuse me. Mistral is it's the next beacon. It's the next veil. It's the next battleground. Hmm. Very interesting. And was that it? I think that's it. Then the ship is sailing. You see the fragmented moon reflecting on the water. The water looked weird because it made me feel like above it there was this grid, this shield grid above the water. Perhaps it was the pattern of the water or the texture. Maybe I read too much into it, but it felt as if there was this shield barrier reflected on the reflection of the water. Um, I think that's it. How long has this been going? 32 minutes. How long did I do it before? Don't remember. But there's probably 15 minutes, so that's 47 minutes. That's good. That's a good stopping time. I don't want to make these too long. But yeah, we'll leave it here. So thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate everything you do, all of your support. You guys are truly awesome. So until next time, take care. Wait! Ooh, I just remembered. I almost forgot about something, but unfortunately I did click the button. I did say goodbye. Man, I'm ending these videos too soon. I gotta give myself a little bit more thinking time right near the end. So this might end up being another unended video. So I forgot to talk about who. Because that is clearly important. I got distracted with the boat, with the fight scene, and other details, but the ending of this episode is extremely important, in my opinion. Cinder is going through this. I don't know what it is, but she's smelling Salem's hand. It's the best I can come up with because her hand is like this. It's not glowing or anything, but it's there. It's close. Okay, okay. I got excited because I'm like, oh, I almost forgot about this, but I got this. I got this. Let's start from the point when. Let's go back just a little bit more to the previous episode in which Salem tells Cinder that her newfound power also brings a crippling weakness, if I recall correctly, was what she said. Now, at first I was like, well, maybe too much power, too much something. I don't know. But what is this crippling weakness that comes with forcibly absorbing the Fall Maiden's power? I don't know. At this point, I'm not sure. But watching this scene, it makes me think that perhaps it can sense your. What was it she said? It can sense your hesitation, was it? It could sense your. It wasn't doubt. It was something like that. It was a word amongst those lines. It could. I think it was tepidation or hesitation. It was a Satian word, but it symbolized doubt. It can sense your doubt. Don't fear it, make it fear you. I think it was what she said. right? Yeah. Something amongst those lines. I'm in the field. I'm not pinpoint, but I'm in the field. Um, it's affecting Cinder because she seems to be in pain. She seems to be struggling. What is it that she's struggling with? What is it that's hurting her or causing her discomfort? What could it be? You forcibly stole something that was not meant for you. Therefore, chances are it wants to come out. I think. So it's possible that the newly found powers that she has are trying to escape from her body. But why does Salem have her hand and asks her, "Do you feel it?" What is it that Salem is doing? That's why you will stay by my side, because it has a crippling weakness. It has this very big flaw. And to make sure that you overcome it, I need you to stay by my side. I need you to be with me. Why? What kind of weakness are we talking about? What will happen to Cinder if Salem doesn't train her? If Salem doesn't guide her? If Salem doesn't do whatever it is that Salem is doing? If Salem doesn't do it, what will happen to Cinder? What will become of Cinder? She's hurt, she's injured, she's damaged in a way. She has a power that doesn't belong to her inside of her. My original idea is that the power is just going crazy, trying to find a way to get out of her because it was stolen forcibly. Oh man. Oh man, hold on a second. What? Oh, yeah, because let me tell you something. Pyrrha was really concerned about accepting the Fall Maiden's power. Why? Because she was concerned that she was no longer going to be herself. Now, if that's the case, how are they going to transfer the soul? With that machine. Because she was dying and they were going to transfer her soul into Pyrrha. Because according to James, James said, no, was it James or Crow? Oh man, scenes are getting foggy, but I got this. Someone important, way to play it safe. Someone important said that they figured out a way to grab a soul and put it in something else. And I'm guessing that was the machine that they used at the end of Volume 3. Pyrrha was hesitant. Pyrrha had her doubts. Pyrrha was concerned. that she might become a different person because she's going to be receiving another soul in her body. Now, Atlas used mechanical technology, for lack of a better term that I can't come up with right now, but I got to keep this flowing. Salem uses organic technology, where Atlas was using a machine, Salem was using a particular grim bug leech of sorts. Partial power was stored in Cinder. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make a thought to connect the dots here. And my thought is, if you use organic technology to extract the soul, chances are what am I basing myself off? I have no evidence to support this. So it's a limb thought. Here we go. If you use organic technology to extract the soul, I'm going to say that it's possible that the soul dies or is not included in the extraction process. So that's why Cinder didn't care about doing the process, because she was receiving only the pure power of the Fall Maiden. However, during the process, during the event, the process got halted, and the Fall Maiden, I believe her name was Autumn Amber. Oh, I still have my doubts. Autumn Amber. Autumn Amber was in critical condition. Why? Because part of her soul was killed during the extraction process. However, a part of her still remained. And that was the part that was going to get transferred into Pyrrha. Now, when Cinder killed Autumn Amber, the Remain immediately seeked out itself and went straight into Cinder. Now, at this point, I believe, with what I just said, that the crippling weakness that Cinder may be experiencing is not that the power is surging inside of her. It's the fact that there's another consciousness inside of her. That's what I'm going with. There's another soul inside of Cinder right now that's trying to take control. But it's not strong because part of that soul is dead. Part of that soul is not there. So it's just a presence. It's just a thought. Man, I'm coming up with all sorts of ideas because of this. And a lot of them are not supported with anything except for my wishful thinking. But since Pyrrha was in the process of receiving the soul of Autumn Amber, I believe she became touched, infused in a way. And this is my long limb theory. I think, or at least I'm hoping for, that Pyrrha's soul got, you know, blessed by the Fall Maiden, right? And because of this, it became part of it entirely. Now, oh man, I don't know. I don't know, but if this is true, this is gonna be crazy. So here we go. These are just my thoughts. Since Pyrrha got touched, since Pyrrha's soul got touched by the Fall Maiden, when Cinder executed Pyrrha, right, and turned her into dust, at that point, I think that part of Pyrrha's soul may have also gone inside Cinder. Now, because now I'm thinking about the last lines that were interchanged. Do you believe in destiny? I do. I don't know. I feel so far fetched out there, but I'm sticking with this one for now. Part, if not all, of Pyrrha's soul got absorbed into Cinder because it was blessed with the power of the Fall Maiden. And that could be the crippling weakness that is brewing inside Cinder. And that makes me think as to why Ruby is having these dreams in which Pyrrha is calling out to John. Because in the end, Ruby was there to witness her death. And when she went winged warrior on Cinder, it's possible that she in a way also crossed the boundaries of connection and somehow is involved. So Ruby is involved with Cinder, Cinder is involved with Pyrrha, and it's just this amalgamation of a connection that is lingering between them. And I think maybe that's why she hears in her dream state of blackness with white sparkles, she hears Pyrrha calling out to John. I know it's far-fetched right now, but I don't know. It's just my thoughts. I don't know why I went so far, but I went so far because what a plot twist would it be if Pyrrha manages to come through Cinder and I don't know. It can go really dark or it can go really great, but that's something. I'll stop while I'm ahead. I had to voice out all these thoughts that I had, but I'll stop now that I'm ahead. before I go in any deeper and lose myself. Um, but those are my thoughts. So that could be the crippling thing that's affecting Cinder. The power surging inside of her, or perhaps another soul trying to gain control. Um, One or the other. And then we have the clicker orb. I think of the similarities of so many other different things that I've seen, and I think of, in part, XCOM, the very strong psychic brains that just float around. I also think about, you know, psychic jellyfish and other things, but clearly this type of Grim, if it is a Grim, because it looks like a Grim because it has teeth all around, this type of Grim is a very advanced psychic intelligent Grim. Cinder treats it like if it was some sort of lieutenant in a way. Cinder gives it orders, organize, whatever, and it just goes and follows the instructions and probably rallies the Grim, commands the Grim, controls the Grim. Perhaps this is how Cinder executes her plan, with the Grim under her control. Interesting. Apparently, it reported something about Ozpin because Salem had to confirm with Cinder if she killed Ozpin. And Cinder replied, yes. I'm going back to my time travel theory a moment ago here, in which Cinder believes that she did kill Ozpin, but he time warped into another direction, another zone, another time zone, another time space, timescape. And it's possible that he is around, but not around, because he hasn't quite synced up with our timeline yet. But that very strong psychic creature thing can feel him. And that's why it's reporting, hey, Ozpin's around. And Salem is like, really? Cinder, be honest. Did you really kill him? Yes! I believe you. And that is probably the who that she's talking about. What are you planning, or what are you up to? What are you planning? What are you planning to do? I forgot the line, but something like that. What are you planning to do? Who? Ozpin. Ozpin is fine. He's totally fine. He's just not come into our time zone yet. He hasn't synchronized with our time line. But the brain thing, the floating little orb thing, can detect him. So he's gonna be coming back soon. You know, and that's why Crow said we could really use him now. We're just waiting for him to come back. So Ozpin is fine. And And that's where the episode ended. Now I'm done. So, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate everything that you do. I really mean it. You guys are awesome. Your support and your comments and basically everything that you do. I really appreciate it. And it makes me happy that my videos are enjoyed by you guys. So, good stuff. Until next time, take care and bye-bye.
ふわふわふわふわふわふわりくるくるくるくるくるくる回るのふわふわふよふよふわふわりうるるくるくるふわふわ飛び出したの